Welcome to 40 Below Zero, an international podcast about life with invisible illnesses, hosted by two guys living with multiple sclerosis. Coming to you from the Keystone State of Pennsylvania, I'm your co-host Nix, and with me on this ride is Terry, a Londoner who calls Ontario home. We're so happy you're here with us as we continue to try and normalize a life that is anything but. So let's get into it. Welcome back, Warriors, to another show. We're so glad you're here. Terry, my friend, good to see you once again. Looking good as always.
Thanks, buddy. You look good too today.
It's because the weather's warm. I'm feeling good. Getting out of the cold. We have a lot to get into today.
Nice.
So let's just dive right in. Our guest today, Anthony Lombardo. I met him through the MS Ambassador program. Turns out he is a fellow law enforcement officer from Pennsylvania, so not too far away from where I'm at. So we naturally hit it off right away. We had a lot to talk about. And this is going to be a big deal because I don't know how many people know. So I don't know if this is like his I don't want to say like his coming out party, but he's definitely to the point where he wants to share his story. So we're glad he's going to be doing it with us.
That's really cool, man. He's from Pennsylvania,
Yeah.
Pennsylvania too?
Yeah, he's only about 2 hours away from me. He's not that
Okay.
far.
Cool. Cool.
So this is one I can definitely meet up with at some point. So I'm really happy about that because, I haven't met that many people that close to me who are also involved with the MS Society. So,
And he's an ambassador.
and
That's
he's an
really cool.
ambassador. Yeah.
That's really cool. And he's not
So,
Canadian.
yeah, how about that?
Let's see how much he swears.
Probably a lot.
Okay.
Let's bring
All
him
right.
in. Anthony, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Welcome to the show. This is Terry.
What's going
Terry
on, man?
Anthony.
Nice to meet you,
Hey,
man.
nice to meet you.
Glad you could take the time. I know you're a busy man. Um, so
Happy to do it.
let's get into it, my friend. I was saying how we met through the ambassador program, and happy to meet a fellow ambassador. Also happy to chat with a fellow law enforcement officer. Um, and I want to thank you for being being comfortable telling your story to us and to everybody. So thank you for that.
Oh, thank you guys. I think this is great, and I'm very happy to be on the show.
So let's start at the beginning. How long you've been dealing with? How long have you known? Let's get through all that stuff.
Okay. So it's kind of a complex story, but most of them are. I've known probably since about 2015, but it was never like a positive type of thing. It was, yeah, you have it. No, you don't. Yes, you do. No, you don't. It was kind of like that. So I was never totally sure until the winter of 2023. But how it kind of started for me was back in 2005. I was getting out of the Marine Corps. I had just gotten back from Iraq like 2 months prior to this, and I was discharged honorably just by end of enlistment time. I was in
Okay.
for 4 years, and I'm driving home from California. I live in Pennsylvania, so it's a pretty long road trip. Um, and I'm somewhere around in Tennessee, and half my body went numb, completely numb. I couldn't feel it whatsoever. And this was like at this point, I'm 22 years old. It's just getting out of the Marine Corps. I was in really good shape, no real health issues. So it freaked me out. It was prior to like a lot of the smartphones. I just saw like one of those hospital signs on the highway and had no idea where I was. Just went to the ER. They gave me a CT scan and said, yeah, everything's fine. So then I went home, and off and on for years, I've just was having all kinds of strange neurological stuff like that, body parts going numb. Um, I didn't know it at the time, but the hug, the MS hug, that's so
Hmm.
endearing. Um, but being young and dumb, and you know, I was checked out on several times. Like a lot of these times I would go to the doctor, especially from around 2012 to about 2016. I was in and out of the ER for various things. Every time it was mostly like anxiety. You have anxiety, those
Mm.
types of things. And finally, they gave me an MRI. They found lesions in my brain. And, but then they were still like, well, you have Lyme disease. I'm like, okay.
Mm.
So they
Wow.
treat me for Lyme disease, but the stuff doesn't go away. It keeps coming back. So they send me to a neurologist. I get more tests done to include like a lumbar puncture, more MRIs, every blood test you can think of. And he's like, I'm pretty sure you have MS. I'm like, okay, okay. But then he gave me an EMG and like these other things. And then like a few months later, he's like, well, I don't know if you have it or not. So I'm just like,
That's odd.
okay,
Dude, I
yeah,
got
yeah.
so many questions for you, man. I'm so sorry. Like, did you ever have Epstein-Barr virus? Just a little question there. Uh, and the fact that you did the CT scan is funny because I went through the same thing. They did the CT scan and they missed it because they can't see it in the CT scan. So you had it for sure.
They said everything's great.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah. That's crazy. And Lyme disease, I've never had a doctor tell me I have Lyme disease, but I had so many other people say, "Are you sure it's not Lyme disease?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's not."
so that sent me on what is it, a red herring? I was going down the
Mhm.
pipeline of Lyme disease, trying all kinds of stuff, all kinds of antibiotics, for over a year. Antibiotics, and then I went like, let's try the herbal stuff. Like I've been down every rabbit hole with that you could go, but everything kept popping back up.
Wow.
And finally, the past couple years, it really ramped up. So I guess luckily for me, or unluckily, I don't know. But probably the first 5 to 10 years, I definitely had a lot of symptoms, and they would come and go, but they weren't like noticeable or to the point where like I couldn't function.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
So and still they're not, in relatively speaking, they're not tremendous things right now, but it ramped up severely around 2021. And I'm like, listen, something's wrong here. Like I found a couple other neurologists, and they're like, absolutely. I have lesions in my spine. I have them in my brain. They're like, you 100% have MS. And so it was kind of a relief, believe it or not. I was kind of in limbo for so many years, and it sucked, like not knowing, and I just thought I was dying. Like I had no idea.
Sure.
It was so gnarly, the symptoms. And I felt like people looked at me like I was crazy, and I'm like, I'm telling you, like, dude, something's going on. I'm telling you, like, but I think
We
that's a pretty
understand, man.
common thing.
Yeah, that's what we call invisible illness. And you're trying to like, I swear I'm not faking it, you know? What was your little symptoms? Was it like numbness in the fingertips?
I had numbness often. It was so in the beginning, it was super strange. I
Yeah.
would get numbness in different parts of my body, and they would migrate to other parts of my body.
Mm,
So like one time, like for instance, like an example, literally you could cut my body in a
yeah.
chainsaw, like the left half would be numb and tingling and all this, then it would transfer to the other side, then it might be my right leg and my left arm. Just these like wild things. And I'm like, what the hell is wrong with me?
Totally get it, man. Because I had my right leg was weakish, and then I'd go to the doctor a year later. He's like, "It's your right leg." I'm like, "No, it's my left leg." He's like, "Last time it was your right leg." I'm like, "I swear I'm not lying." Like it's I don't know.
Every time I'm at the doctor, I'm like, listen, I know this sounds crazy, but I'm telling you, like, like you have to like plead your case. And it's just crazy. I had altered sensations. Hot would feel cold, cold would feel hot.
Oh yeah, I get that.
Um,
Mm.
the brain fog. And
Ugh.
then I
Yeah.
started, probably my worst symptom was I guess it's spasticity or spasms or both. Um, Man, I'd get these cramp, from my abdomen down would cramp up at the same exact time, and it is like so painful. One of the most painful things I ever experienced. It would last for like 2 minutes, and then it would go away. And I just, every time I'd be on the floor, just
Wow.
laying there. And I'm just like, oh my God, like this can't happen anymore. I don't know how long I could deal with this.
That is a very that is a very similar story to a lot of people that we talk to, and even stuff that I deal with. Mine is instead of the sensation switching sides, my vision kind of switches sides for whichever one's better at any particular moment. Normally the right side's better, but every now and again it just I wake up and it's the other way around. So,
That's interesting. So like I try to talk to a lot of people and like I thought I haven't really talked to many people where it switches around like that. And I'm
mhm.
sorry, I'm kind of glad to hear
No, it's
that.
Yo, to me, it's rare. Like I know it does, but have you
yeah,
heard of MS before you got it?
Absolutely not. I had no idea. I mean, I would see the sign, like I knew it was two letters and there was
right.
like there were walks,
Yeah.
but I knew
I don't,
nothing about it. Absolutely
me too,
nothing.
man. Me too. I knew
So,
nothing.
It just, and I think that's common. I mean, unless it affects you or your family, like you wouldn't
yeah.
really know. Like I just was like, okay, MS wheelchair. Okay, I'm screwed. Um, and instantly go into panic mode and like your life flashes before your eyes. And but
Oh
then,
yeah.
as you sit with it for a little bit, it gets a little better.
Yeah. I was diagnosed at 33, and within 6 months when my short-term disability was up, they were like, okay, it hasn't gotten any better, so enjoy your retirement. So I went from, and our viewers know, police, fire, and EMS. I was all three, and then a week later I was not any of those. So it was a tough, fast thing because it's your eyes, and you know how it is. You know, how long does it take a defense attorney to shut your case down if they can say, well, you have documented eye issues. Are you sure it was my client?
So you said it best. You went into forced retirement.
Hmm.
So I like to say that now to a lot of people.
That's awful. With in addition to the actual like diagnosis and dealing with it, like that's man, that's all kinds of devastating.
Your lumbar puncture, how was that?
So freaking scared. And at the time, I was going through a divorce, and so I was kind of by myself. I had people from work drop me off and pick me up, and I'm just like, what's gonna happen? Thankfully, I didn't have that headache afterwards that people
Oh
can
yeah.
have, but I was so paranoid about it. I didn't move for hours because they were like, if you move and you like, I guess that it forms like a little clot or a scab or something. If you break that loose, you're gonna have the worst headache you've ever had in your life. And so like I was so petrified, I just laid there and I didn't do anything for like 8 hours.
I was the same way. They're like drink caffeine and rest. So I drank 24 ounces and went to bed.
Bro, I feel
But
so
it
guilty. I've never had a lumbar puncture, just so you know. So I feel guilty because every time I hear about it, it's painful and whatever happens. And I'm like, I never got one. And I'm so glad I never got one.
it was really weird. Like the one I had, I don't know if they're all the same. Like I'm on this bed and they kind of like tilt you up. So they put the needle in and then they tilt you almost so you're standing. And I guess
Hmm.
it's just like dripping out your fluid. But like you can feel the needle in there. Like
Yeah.
I can't say that it
Ugh.
hurt, but it was a weird, like you feel it like hitting nerves and stuff. I don't, it was not good.
Yeah.
I don't,
I was on one of those like you ever see one of those ergonomic desk chairs where you like kneel into them? So I was like kneeling and leaning forward. So they didn't stand me up. They was just kind of already in that position. Same thing though. You're just standing there and you kind of like feel it dripping out somehow. It's so nasty.
I don't recommend
No,
it.
no. So
That's
you're
crazy.
still working.
I am. So
Okay.
during most of the unknowing part, I was doing undercover narcotics. Um, I did that for 12 years. So I was like, making drug buys, raiding houses, doing all that
Dude, we
kind of
have
thing.
such a cool guest on right now, bro. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I told you.
I ha-
I'm sorry.
I had hair past my shoulders, uh that kind
Yeah.
of thing, and it was awesome. It was so much fun. And then with that unit, towards the end of the time with that unit, I was their canine officer. So I have he's retired now, but I have a chocolate lab. He was a drug dog for us, so I did the
Nice.
canine for them. Now I'm just in criminal investigations, like a suit and tie detective. Um,
Okay.
uh, and I investigate pretty much anything that requires a detective. We don't have like specialized units, so we kind of
Sure.
handle everything.
Sure. Now, who do your peers know? Do your coworkers know what you're dealing with on the daily?
You know, they don't. My sergeant does, and that's it. I'm in the process. I want to tell everybody. I want them to know about it. I want them to, but my fear with it was, and you know, like law enforcement, they're very, what's the word? Judgy.
Yep.
I know with like peers and stuff, like my fear was if I tell them instantly, they're gonna be like, he can't, he won't have our backs. He's not gonna be able to do his job.
Yep.
Like,
Your liability immediately.
yeah, so like my thought, whether right or wrong, I'm like, if I go through this for a year or two and they see nothing's changed, I'm not, I mean, it just kind of sucks suffering in silence. Like I'd prefer to
Hmm.
tell them.
Sure.
And I'm going to.
Well,
I'm
I'm
definitely
sure
getting more open about it.
this show's going to help that.
Yeah, yeah, and like so I have a regular Instagram page and I have like the MS Detective and it's popping up on like people I work with. So every couple days I get a follower and I'm like, "Oh,
Mhm.
that's how they're finding out."
Yeah.
But I'm okay with it.
Okay.
I really want I want to be like an advocate and I want to you know what I've found with the MS community. First of all, it sucks the disease itself, but like man, some of the strongest people I've ever met in my entire life. Like and for all it's bad, it does and this is gonna sound crazy. There is some good to it, at least with me. It has made me appreciate life so much more. It's ignited some fire in me. I have a lot of goals. It's not going to dampen any of them. I'm going to do what
Good.
I'm going to do. I stay busy. I might be slower at it. I might, but overall, like there is some positive that came out of it, or at least I choose to look at it that way.
That's good. That's
That
good.
seems to be the regular story with everybody. That like,
Yeah.
thank God for MS because now I'm more healthier, which is funny that someone would say that. But you know what's funny? The majority of the people I know with MS, and I know a lot of people with MS, the majority, like most of them, are not in a wheelchair. You know what I
Yep.
mean? People assume wheelchair, but it's really rare. I feel like I'm in a chair, man, but I went through a story and a half, and no one knew I had it for like 10 years. And then whatever stress happened and whatever. But right now, the majority of people I know, not in a chair.
Hmm.
So I hate the stigma of it.
Yeah, and it's just society. Like I was just ignorant to it, and I think a lot of people are, and I want people to know it doesn't like change me. That's also the kind of the other fear. Like they just like looking at you differently. Like
Hmm.
no, I think nothing changes here. I just want you to know.
Yeah. I've had
That
it the whole time that you've known me.
yeah,
Like,
yeah, you. Yeah, yeah. I'm not asking for sympathy or anything like that. I just
nope.
want you to know, like, there might be some times, like, for instance, it sucks kind of hiding some of these things because like we were walking out to do something and my legs started cramping up and spasming to the point where I had to like lean on a car for a little bit, but it passed. But it's like I'm like making excuses and like kind of like chatting them up and
Yep.
it's silly. I should just come out with it and I will. But I guess in due time. It's just everybody kind of I guess navigates this part of it.
Well, I can tell you that I had um, I had a partner of sorts before I got diagnosed, who was diagnosed probably 6 to 8 months before I was, and he's still on the job in one of the roughest parts of the area, and he's still kicking doors, and he's still doing everything, and everybody knows. It's just that every now and again he just needs a minute.
Nick, you had a partner that had MS.
Well, there's 60 officers in my department and you
Okay.
rotated around a lot. So like I wasn't like partnered up, but we worked together a lot. We're from the same neighborhood, like all that kind of stuff. We knew each other. And yeah, it was about 6 to 8 months before I was diagnosed. He was, and I was like, I really hope I never have to go through anything like that. And then
Yeah,
I'm in it.
that's crazy.
Yeah, he's still working. We talk a lot.
Dude, when you had your half your body go numb, could you still walk and everything? Was it just numb?
It was numb, and it would change from numbness to burning and numbness to burning. I could still walk, but it was kind of weird. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, just super strange.
I describe it as if you and then Terry, you can clip this. Um, I describe it as if you've ever seen tinfoil on or not tinfoil, steel wool on fire. If you've ever like seen when you
That's
that's
a
how
really good analogy. That's exactly what it feels like. Like
yep.
all the little fibers like
Like
burning.
yep.
Yes, yes.
Feel free to steal that.
Oh, his story just made me think of this. So the only reason my sergeant knows is because so shortly after I had a really bad flare up, it was December of 23, and we got called in for a homicide, and that requires our whole unit to come in. In our my department has 65 people. It's not huge, but in terms of Pennsylvania, believe it or not, it's one of the larger. You know, everybody
Oh
thinks
yeah.
Philadelphia and Pittsburgh, but 65 is a decent size in Pennsylvania. And but we have like 8 detectives. So if there's a homicide, everybody comes in. And we're doing that. In the middle of that, I had an infusion set up. I was getting the steroid. You have to go like 2 or 3 days in a row.
Okay, yeah.
Prednisone.
And
Yeah.
I'm like, holy shit, we're gonna be at work for like 20 hours. I can't miss this. This was like day 2 that I was supposed to get this infusion. And in the middle of like all of it, I'm just like, I pulled him aside and I said, listen, here's the deal. I'm like, I'm sorry I gotta bug out, but as soon as I get it done, I'll come right back. So I go get the
Yeah.
infusion. They're all working. I come back, I still have the bandage on and everything. Like,
Did you go in your uniform?
well, so luckily, so I don't wear a uniform. Like I'm like a literally like a suit and tie kind of detective. So but I did have that on.
Well, that's good. That's great that he was so understanding about that.
Oh yeah, he really is, and he's like, if you want to tell people, that's great. If not, I know about it. So, yeah, he's really cool with it.
Have you ever been on steroids before?
Yeah, only like not for MS. Like I used to be allergic to like poison ivy, and I'd get prednisone or something like in the pill form.
Okay.
That
Okay. Okay. Cool.
that was my first time with an IV of
And that was
steroids.
2 days or 3 days?
I'm trying to remember. I think it was two.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Like, did you feel irritation? Did you feel your food wasn't
Yeah.
tasting right?
Yeah, I did. I had that, and I also couldn't sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
that makes sense. Yeah.
That's some heavy duty drugs, man. Prednisone.
What are you on anything maintenance wise? Do you have to take a DMT?
I do. I take Tecfidera,
Okay.
and I have zero issues with it. And MRI wise, everything's stable. So they said just by the way mine has gone, they were like, it's up to you, certainly. If you want to be on one, first of all, I luckily I found a really good neurologist now, and the nightmare one, I'm done with him. But they honestly, what I want to do is a big factor in everything. I mean, they recommend things, but they are like really good about what I want. And personally, like I don't care what anybody does with it. My personal decision was like I want to say that like if I eat right and do all these things, everything will be great, but I can't afford to be wrong like with my kids. And so like for me, I was like, let me try it out. And they said, you're on the milder side. We can go either hard, we can go at it hard, or we can go at it like the mid route. And there's advantages to both. And I was like, let me go with the mid route or like moderate. So I gave Tecfidera. That it's the only DMT I've ever been on. And I'm like a year and a half into it.
That's good, man. That's it doesn't matter which one you take, it's whatever one works, right?
How do
Yeah.
you take this one? Is it pill form?
It's a pill twice a day.
Okay.
most common, I think, side effect for most people is like flushing. Like you get really flushed. I
Okay,
I don't even have that. Like I really have
good.
none that I can think of. So
Yeah, I'm on DMT number 5. So yeah, I do Ocrevus infusions just like Terry.
That sounded like the song you were singing. Mambo number five. How old are your kids?
so I have so I have a 18-year-old, 15-year-old, and a 5-year-old.
And
I
the
was
18-year-old knows?
oh, my whole family knows.
Okay. Yeah.
Um yeah, I did tell my family knew right off the bat. I wasn't going to keep it from them. They're very supportive.
It's good.
But I didn't the work thing, and I told close friends as well. But I was just the work thing's hesitant. Like, man, cops can be so like I thought they'd like fire me immediately. I know they won't, but
Yeah. No, I believe me, I for sure understand that fear. And I can say that my department did everything in their power to keep me. And then it just got to the point where they're like, we can't, because I was a patrol corporal. So I was out and about, and it's just too much unknown for them. And they were like, we're not gonna give you a hard time about it. Like we're just gonna sign, but you're done. I'm like, okay.
well, I mean, it's unfortunate, but at least they were like really cool about it
Yeah.
with you.
As they actually they went above what I thought they were gonna do. Um, and that was nice. And that definitely helped soften the blow a little bit. Especially for the uncertainty, because you're like, oh crap, now because I was also still am the sole income for my family. So at the time, you're like riding high on the big clock, making all that OT money, and then all that goes away. I said, I was diagnosed in July, and that first month I was diagnosed, I think I lost out on about $6,000 worth of overtime. So it's a hit for sure.
When you tell your friends, you say, "Oh, I told my close friends and stuff," but I bet you the way you tell your close friends is, "So, guys, I have MS, but I'm okay. Everything's fine. You wouldn't even know. It's fine." You know what I mean? So,
Exactly what I
uh,
said.
even though you are fine, I get it. You look fine. You're fine. You're managing through it, but nobody gets it, man. Nobody gets the anxiety that you have. No one understands the mind thinking has changed a bit. Very subtle. You know what I mean? But it's in the back of your mind. You have MS, you know?
You're exactly right. And I don't and I have the most incredible wife. I really do. But I don't want to complain to her constantly. Like I just more often than not, I feel like complete crap. Like I do. But I suck it up and I don't want to use it like a crutch, even though I know she wouldn't view it that way,
Hmm.
but that's just kind of how I am. And yeah.
Well, and that's very typical. We talk to a lot of MSers and other diagnoses that are like, I don't want to be a burden. I don't want to constantly sound like I'm whining. But the truth is, most days you wake up and you feel like absolute garbage, and you want to just feel, you want to sit in that, and you can't because you wouldn't get anything done. But I will say this now. Now you have Terry's info. And you have my info. We've connected off of here, and we're going to be connecting again because now that we're both in the same ambassador program from the same state, so we're going to be meeting
Yeah.
up a lot. So feel free to shoot me a complaint text anytime you want. Just be like, hey, just feeling like crap today. Needed to tell somebody. Thanks. Have a good one.
Likewise. And that's honestly like why I'll tell you, like once I created that Instagram for like the MS side of things, it feels really good to be able to just like bitch about it. And I hate that I even have to say this, but it makes me feel better when I hear what other people have the same thing I do. Like it's horrible. I don't want other people to have that, but I just feel I guess misery loves company. I don't know, but you know, it's helping a lot. I wish I did it sooner. And doing things like this, like it's definitely helps me more than probably it helps other people.
But no, it takes the fear out of it a little bit to say, okay, what I'm going through, I'm not the only one. So it's not as scary because I know that there's other people that are still surviving, they're still doing okay, and I can do okay too, you know? So it gives you
Yeah,
hope.
When you jumped on
yeah.
Instagram, did we connect before, Nick? Because I was like looking at your name. I'm like, did I know this guy before?
So we never spoke. I just
Okay.
started like trying to find like MS related stuff, and I did stumble across you. And
Yeah.
so when I talked to Nick, he's telling me about this podcast, and I'm like, man, this sounds familiar. And I look back, and
Yeah.
I had recently like liked it and started following it like
Yeah.
maybe a day or two prior.
I remember your name, MS Detective.
Yeah,
I was like, hi. I'm
yeah.
like, this guy. And then Nick told
Terry,
me, and I'm like, yo, is
Terry,
he?
the Instagram rock star.
Nah,
Yeah.
nah, get out of here. But that's cool, man. I'm so glad that you came on here. When somebody asks you, or when you tell someone you have MS and they say, what's that?
I'm just like, well, it's it's my so I have three brothers and I think every single one of them were like, "What's that?" And I'm like, "Well, it's kind of a disease that affects your nerves." I didn't get all like technical. I was just like they were like, "Well, like what's it do?" And I'm just like, I don't know. It does hundreds of different things to hundreds of different people, and it's kind of hard to plot out your course. It's kind of different for everyone, but it's chronic and I can't give you what you never know. 30 days from now could look totally different or 2 years from now.
And don't Google it
Oh, yeah, yeah. I did
because they're
say
gonna
that.
Google it.
I'm
And,
like, don't go on the internet. So of course they do.
Yeah. As we wrap up, um, I will say this. The two questions we asked often is, um, what would you say to yourself when you first got diagnosed if you could go back and give yourself a message? What would you say?
I would say don't freak out immediately. Find somebody that's going through it and talk to them before you go into panic mode or I went to DEF CON Alpha or whatever the highest level that there is. Like you, I'm the primary breadwinner of my family. They rely on me. And I was so uninformed. There's so much stigma and you don't know what you don't know. So that probably took some years off my life, just where the needless panic. So that would be my biggest advice to myself.
Okay. And then the other thing we ask often is, what would you like people to know about where you're at now and what you want to see in the future as far as the diagnosis and your life goes?
Um, what I would say is everybody has some sort of thing that they're dealing with that nobody else knows about, whether it's disease, whether it's family issues or loss or anything like that. You never know what somebody's kind of going through. Um, this is kind of my thing, and I'm gonna handle it. I might not always be on the top of my game or um, handle it as gracefully as I'd like to, but I'm handling it. I'm at a good place. It's not going to inhibit me in any way, shape, or form. I'm doing a master's degree. I work full time. I'm going to do what I want to do for as long as I can do it. And when that changes, I'll change with it and I'll still like make a course correction and do what I can. So I would say it doesn't control people. Yes, it has a horrible name and a stereotype around it, but it definitely it is a part of me, but it's not me, if that makes sense.
Makes 100% sense. Well,
I
brother, I want to thank you for taking the time again. I know you're a very busy guy, and man, it's so nice to connect with someone that I can actually meet up with in real life.
Likewise, thank you both so much. I really enjoyed this, and I appreciate that you guys do this. It's great.
And you and I will connect through the society, and just text me whenever, brother.
Yes, sir.
Awesome.
All right, brother. Thanks again.
All right. Thank you,
Cool, man.
guys. Have
We'll
a good
talk
one.
soon. Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
You too.
Bye.
Terry, I'll talk to you soon, my brother.
Definitely, man. Take care. So check us out at 40belowzero.com. That's 4 letter T below zero.com. Or feel free to reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you. Our email address is info@40belowzero.com. Our personal Instagram account are, for Nix, it's Nix_V713. Or for Terry, it's What's_MS. Awesome. Looking forward to hearing from you guys. We'll talk soon.